Have you ever heard of a place so secret it was literally erased from maps? Deep within Central Asia, in the heart of what was once the Aral Sea, lies a desolate stretch of land that few dare to mention, Vozrozhdeniya Island. Today, it's a ghostly wasteland, a cracked, sun-bleached desert where the wind howls across the ruins of a deadly experiment. But decades ago, this was one of the most dangerous places on Earth, a forbidden island where science, secrecy, and death collided. The story begins in the early 1950s, at the height of the Cold War. The world was divided between two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, each desperate to prove its dominance not only with nuclear weapons, but with biological ones. For the Soviets, the remote and isolated Aral Sea was the perfect hiding place. Hundreds of miles from any major city, surrounded by water, and almost impossible to reach without special clearance. In 1954, Vozrozhdeniya, which means rebirth in Russian, was chosen as the testing site for the USSR's top-secret biological warfare program. At first glance, it was just a barren island. But soon, the Soviets built an entire town there, laboratories, housing blocks, roads, even a small airstrip. The settlement was called Aral Sea, though officially it didn't exist. The people who lived there, scientists, soldiers, and their families, were sworn to secrecy. They couldn't tell anyone where they were or what they were doing. Even their mail was censored. Every morning, scientists in protective suits entered sealed laboratories filled with glass containers and strange devices. Here, they cultivated some of the deadliest pathogens known to humankind: anthrax, smallpox, plague, and tularemia. But these weren't ordinary strains. They were weaponized, engineered to survive heat, cold, and antibiotics. To test their effectiveness, aircraft sprayed aerosols of the bacteria over enclosed zones on the island. Animals, monkeys, sheep, and rodents were placed inside to measure infection rates. Most of them didn't survive long. One former Soviet scientist later admitted, "We were told this work was to protect the motherland. But deep down, we knew it could destroy it." In 1971, an incident occurred that the Soviet government desperately tried to hide. A ship from the Aral fishing fleet sailing near Vozrozhdeniya drifted too close to the testing zone. A few days later, one of the crew members fell violently ill, infected with smallpox. Within weeks, several people died. The outbreak was contained, but the cover-up was immediate. No one outside the USSR ever knew. The program continued, growing more ambitious and more reckless. By the 1980s, Vozrozhdeniya was one of the largest bioweapons facilities in the world. Thousands of tons of anthrax spores were produced and tested here, many buried afterward in large pits sealed with chemicals. Then everything changed. The Soviet Union began to crumble and money ran out. In 1991, with the fall of the USSR, the island's personnel were suddenly ordered to evacuate. They left almost overnight, leaving behind equipment, records, and containers filled with biological material. And then came nature's revenge. The Aral Sea, once the fourth largest lake on Earth, had been drying up for decades due to Soviet irrigation projects. By the 1990s, most of it was gone. What used to be water became desert, and Vozrozhdeniya was no longer an island. It had become a peninsula, connected to the mainland by cracked earth. Suddenly, one of the world's most dangerous sites was open to anyone who wandered in. For years, local shepherds and scavengers stumbled across rusting buildings, gas masks, and strange containers marked with warning symbols. Some even reported unexplained illnesses after visiting the area. But the true danger came to light in 2002, when a joint US-Uzbek team arrived to investigate. What they found shocked even the experts. Tons of anthrax spores had survived, buried under the sand for more than a decade. Despite exposure to the harsh climate, many were still alive and infectious. The cleanup operation took years and millions of dollars. Hundreds of burial sites were sealed with bleach and concrete. But even then, scientists admitted, it was impossible to guarantee that everything had been neutralized. To this day, Vozrozhdeniya remains a forbidden zone. Most of the structures are collapsing, half buried under sand. Laboratories stand silent, filled with shattered glass and rusted instruments. Signs with faded Cyrillic letters still read, "Biohazard, keep out." Satellite images reveal that the area is slowly being reclaimed by the desert, but questions remain. Were all the pathogens truly destroyed? Or are some of them still waiting, dormant, hidden beneath the dust? Some explorers who've ventured near the site describe an eerie atmosphere, an unnatural stillness that feels like the island itself is holding its breath. A few claim to have found sealed bunkers or underground tunnels, but those stories have never been verified. What we do know is this: Vozrozhdeniya stands as a haunting monument to the extremes of human ambition. It was born from fear, the fear of being outmatched, of losing power, of falling behind. But it became something far more terrifying. A reminder that when science is driven by secrecy and control, the results can escape our grasp. The Aral Sea, once a symbol of life and abundance, is now a graveyard of sand and rust. And at its center lies the forbidden island of death, a place where the ghosts of the Cold War still whisper in the wind. Somewhere out there, beyond the dunes and the silence, the ruins of Vozrozhdeniya remain, a silent warning carved into the bones of history.